He threw that patch on to make it look like he was in a club, but he was never in a club.
They want to be able to tack like 15 felonies upon jaywalking across the street. This outlaw motorcycle member and it doesn't matter what they stack on you.
Because they're a friend or they know somebody and they start hanging them around and making them official hang around. Next thing you know, they're prospecting. Before you know it, they got a patch. And I'm going, you've never been in a club.
His dad was a bandito. He borrowed $100 from the club. It might have been 1,000. I don't know. But his own son was 86.
I think it was from that point on, I was like, one day, I'm going to be one of those guys.
And he said, if you don't get on a stand, you're going to lose. You're going to jail. I said, I can't take the stand.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Repo, Rod, and Peewee.
So, I mean, so many things. And then another guy just flipped a 4x4, flew out the back of a pickup truck. He ran it over and he flipped. We ran up to his old lady. She's laying there, not a scratch on her, bro. Not a bruise, not a drop of blood. I said I wouldn't take her helmet off because you don't know what's wrong with her. She was laying there unconscious. I checked her neck. There was no pulse. She was dead. I said, don't pick her up, man. Even though I'm not getting a pulse, don't pick her up. When the paramedics got there and they lifted her up and they put her in there, they said what happened, bro, is when the bike flipped over, she broke the stem in the back of your head. You know what I'm talking about? At the bottom of your skull? Instantly killed her, yeah.
Didn't have a scratch on her.
Not a scratch, bro. Not even a drop of blood on her face, nothing.
Yeah.
She had a full face helmet on. Yeah.
The impact from hitting with the helmet?
Yeah, I don't know. I think so. Could have been. He didn't like go head over heels like Kevin did. He just hit the board and the bike went sideways and just flipped once and it threw her. It didn't even look like a big deal, bro. That's why when he got up, he says, "Hey, you okay?" And she's just laying there. And we all ran up to her and she was gone.
Well, Peewee, you had a guy on a run into the back of you.
Yeah. When I first got out of prison, we were coming down to where I live now. And we were coming down on the bikes. This guy named Joe, who used to be a prospect for us, he didn't make it. He was on a buddy of mine. I borrowed a buddy of mine's bike so he could ride.
But you had left Vegas originally, didn't you? Heading that way?
Yeah, we left Las Vegas. But I should have knew something was up with this guy, Bill. We're at the hotel before we left. I says to him, you all right? And he goes, oh, my back's killed me, man. I'm going to take a couple ibuprofens.
Amarillo, Texas?
Amarillo. I looked in his hand, and he had 2 pills in his hand.
Cottons.
Right. Well, hey, I'm not a dummy. I'm not smart enough to tell you what kind of pill it is, but I can honestly tell you I'm not stupid enough to know a little tiny round pill is not a big ibuprofen. You know how big those are? They're like big capsules. So when he says to me, I'm taking a couple ibuprofens, and I said, where? And he goes, right here. I said, they don't look like ibuprofens to me. Well, then we blast off, and we get down the road. We pull in a rest area. Everybody had to take a piss and stuff, right?
Yeah.
We walked up there, and he walks up, and he says, hey, man, we got time. I got to take a shit. And I said, go ahead. Hurry up. We'll be waiting for you. So we go out. We get on the bikes. We're waiting. I'm like, man, what the hell is with this guy? I'm getting all pissed off, and right? I go inside, and because I'm 6'8", you know, and I pretty much I can walk over, look over the top of the stall at you. You're in there jerking off. I'm going to see you. You know what I mean, bro?
Passed out in there, right?
Yeah, he's passed out. So I look in there and I says, hey, you son of a... And he wakes up and I said, we're out here waiting for you and you're in here sleeping. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry. And he, he finishes up his work and I said, let's get going. So we get out, we jump on the bikes and I'm up front riding with Tomas. And we're riding and I'm watching this son of a bitch and he keeps like flying up behind me. Then he dropped back about a mile behind me. Then he come flying up again, catch me. And then he dropped back about 4 or 5 blocks behind me. I turned over, I looked over at Thomas, and I said, I think this son of a bitch is falling asleep on the bike. Because he kept speeding up, slowing down, speeding up. Well, what happened was the pills kicked in. They were morphine pills. Yeah, morphine. That'll put you to sleep, bro.
Yeah.
It's nodding out on the bike.
Right. He's behind me, and his head goes back. And when his head went back, he turned, his head, turned the throttle. I'm riding my bike, and all these cones bring us down the one lane. Just as we're crossing over the bridge, it says, "Welcome to Oklahoma." And the way station's right there. Well, everything was slowing down because all the trucks were slowing down to go into the way station. And it was only one lane of traffic. So I get in there, man. I'm trying to stay ahead of this bastard, and he comes flying. He hits me at 80 miles an hour. And he had a 21-inch tire on the front of the bike, so it wedged in between my saddlebag and my fender. And the bike leaned to the left. He flew off and went rolling down the highway like 100 miles an hour. I didn't give a fuck about him. All I cared about was the bike I borrowed from my friend that the fucker was on. And then the bike broke my saddlebag off, and the bike hit the ground, and all I saw tumbling down the road, pieces flying off of it. And I just want to say it to you like this, bro. The guy I borrowed the bike from was not a guy that you mess around with, You don't do shit like that. And the last thing he said to me was this: "Peewee, take care of my baby for me," because he didn't ride. He was an older gentleman. Guys, you're used to interviewing, Billy. Do you know? You read in between the lines?
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys, you interview a lot. Yeah. Just got out, guys like that. He said, "Take care of my baby." All he had was liability insurance on it because it sat in his garage. And it just rolled down the highway, busting into a million pieces. Well, I pull off the side of the road and I put my kickstand down. My saddlebag's ripped off. My fender's pushed up against my tire. I just reached down like King Kong Bundy, and I just ripped the fender right up in the air off of my tire. And I'm pissed, bro. I'm pissed. I walked over. I looked at the bike. I was so angry, bro. I walked over. Joe's laying on the ground on the asphalt. Now, it had to be hot, bro. It was scorching hot out. All he had on was a wife beater. Okay?
Yeah.
He was all road rash. 100% road rash, bro. There was no skin showing. He had a bone sticking out of his wrist, and he had a bone sticking out of his leg. I walked up to him, and all these truck drivers are standing there. And he goes, "I'm burning up. I'm burning up. I'm burning up." It was because all the skin was off of him, and he was burning. I walked up, and he's laying there, and I'm just standing there staring at him. And all these truck drivers are looking at me. And he looks up, and he goes, "I'm sorry, Peewee, I'm sorry." And I yelled as loud as I could, bro. "You, Joe. You." And all wow, this guy's got no heart. No, Joe Blainer was bone sticking out. Oh, I wanted to kick him in the face, bro.
He don't feel the bone sticking out. Anyway.
I would have kicked him. I don't care about the bone sticking out. I would have still kicked him.
Oh. I felt like grabbing one of the bones and shoving it back in his arm. So I had to walk back, and then I'm standing by my bike. And the state trooper walks up to me, and I still had that tattoo on the side of my neck where it said Hell's Angels on my neck. I covered it up so people didn't think I was one of those guys anymore,
Yeah.
Too embarrassing. So he walks up to me. He sees my neck. And he says, "Hey, are you a gang member? And I said, no. Are you? And he says, no, but you are. And I said, who says I am? He says, your neck. Says it right on your neck. I said, where on my neck does it say I'm a gang member? And he goes, right there. And he points to it. And I said, that's a club I used to be in, man. I'm not in it anymore. You don't see me wearing a patch, do you? And he goes, no. And I said, then I'm not in it anymore. Just like, you quit the force. Do you think people are still going to run by you and call you a pig? I said, you're not a pig anymore. And he goes, well, we don't like being called pigs anyway. I said, well, I don't like being called a gang member.